The mysterious arrival. The battlefield stretched across the cold void of space, with thousands of ships locked in a deadly struggle. Explosions lit up the darkness as laser beams and missiles tore through fleets on both sides. The war between the Kharn Empire and the Hellenic coalition had raged for years, with countless lives lost and no end in sight. It was a battle for control, resources, and dominance, a battle that neither side could afford to lose. Admiral Kren of the Kharn Empire sat in his command chair, his reptilian eyes fixed on the holo-display. His fleet had the upper hand, slowly pushing the coalition forces back toward the gas giant's orbit. Victory seemed close. He could almost taste it. "Admiral," called out his communications officer, her voice tinged with urgency. "We're detecting a new signal entering the system." Kren frowned. "What kind of signal?" "It's not one of ours or the coalition's," she replied, her claws dancing over the console. "It's coming from a single ship. The energy readings are off the charts." On the other side of the battle, Admiral Marcus Taine of the Hellenic coalition received a similar report. His human crew exchanged worried looks as they studied the incoming data. The ship wasn't just big. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its sleek, angular design didn't match any known galactic faction. "Put it on the main screen," Taine ordered. The image that appeared silenced the bridge. A massive warship emerged from hyperspace, its dark hull shimmering with strange blue energy. Its size dwarfed even the largest Kharn dreadnoughts. "Is it a Kharn weapon?" asked one of his officers, fear in her voice. "No," Taine replied, shaking his head. "It's something else." The mysterious ship drifted into the center of the battlefield, ignoring the chaos around it. Its presence was like a predator walking into a room full of smaller, weaker prey. Both Kharn and coalition forces hesitated, their weapons falling silent as they turned their attention to the newcomer. Inside the strange ship, Commander Aria Blackthorn stood on her bridge. Her sharp eyes scanned the tactical displays as her crew worked silently around her. The Horizon's Wrath was humanity's most advanced warship, a secret project hidden from the galaxy. For years, humans had been underestimated, seen as a minor race on the edge of the galactic map. But now, with the galaxy on the brink of collapse, it was time to make their presence known. "Broadcast the message," Aria commanded. Her voice was calm, but her posture radiated authority. A clear, strong voice echoed across every ship in the system. "This is Commander Aria Blackthorn of the human warship Horizon's Wrath. Cease fire immediately, or face annihilation." The message caused a wave of confusion and fear among the fleets. Human. Most species in the galaxy barely considered humans worth mentioning, let alone capable of building something so powerful. Now, this lone ship claimed the authority to stop the greatest battle in galactic history. On the Kharn flagship, Admiral Kren snarled in disbelief. "Humans. This is a joke. They couldn't possibly." Before he could finish, the Horizon's Wrath fired a warning shot. A beam of concentrated energy cut through space, narrowly missing the Kharn flagship. The beam's residual energy disrupted nearby systems, causing smaller ships to power down temporarily. The silence on Kren's bridge was deafening. His officers looked to him for orders, but for the first time in years, he hesitated. The power of the human ship was undeniable. On the coalition side, Admiral Taine weighed his options carefully. Humans were technically part of the coalition, but they had never played a significant role in the war. Yet here they were, wielding a weapon that could tip the scales. "What's your plan, Commander Blackthorn?" Taine muttered to himself, watching the human ship on his screen. The Horizon's Wrath sent another message. "This war has gone on long enough. Both sides are destroying each other and the galaxy along with it. Humanity will not allow this to continue. You have one chance to negotiate peace. Refuse, and we will end this conflict ourselves." Taine's officers whispered among themselves, some hopeful, others skeptical. Could the humans really back up such a bold claim? Meanwhile, the Kharn fleet bristled with hostility, their ships repositioning for an attack. Commander Blackthorn watched the Kharn movements on her display. "They're not listening," she said quietly. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Carter, nodded grimly. "They'll test us, Mom." "Then let them," Arya replied, her voice firm. "Prepare to engage." As the Kharn fleet began charging their weapons, the Horizon's Wrath moved with impossible speed. Its advanced thrusters and shielding made it untouchable, weaving through enemy fire with ease. In a single, devastating strike, it disabled 3 Kharn cruisers without destroying them, a calculated show of force. The message was clear. This was not a warship to be underestimated. Back on the Kharn flagship, Admiral Kren clenched his fists. He had been moments away from victory. And now this human ship was threatening everything. He had to make a decision, one that could change the fate of the galaxy. The stage was set, and the galaxy held its breath. Would the Kharn and Coalition leaders heed the human ultimatum, or would this mysterious warship ignite an even greater conflict? The answer lay in the next move. The human ultimatum. The battlefield hung in uneasy silence, every ship caught in the grip of indecision. The human warship, Horizon's Wrath, loomed like a silent predator, its mere presence altering the course of the conflict. For the first time in decades, both the Kharn Empire and the Hellenic Coalition paused their relentless battle. On the Kharn flagship, Admiral Kren paced, his tail lashing the floor in frustration. His reptilian mind churned with conflicting thoughts. A single human warship had disrupted their plans, but surrender was not in the Kharn vocabulary. "Open a channel to the human ship," Kren growled, his voice low and threatening. The communication screen lit up, revealing the calm and composed face of Commander Arya Blackthorn. Her piercing gaze seemed to cut through Kren's bluster. "Admiral Kren," Arya said, her tone even, "I trust that Kharn Empire understands the stakes. Cease your attack now, and we can discuss a way to end this war peacefully." Kren's lip curled in disdain. "Peace? Humans demand peace. Your species has barely left its homeworld. You dare to lecture the Kharn?" Unfazed, Arya leaned forward slightly. "It's not a lecture, Admiral. It's a warning. This war has no victor. If you continue, I assure you, the galaxy will lose more than it can afford." Before Kren could reply, the Coalition leader, Admiral Marcus Tane, appeared on a split screen. His weathered face betrayed a mix of hope and suspicion. "Commander Blackthorn," Tane began cautiously, "the Coalition appreciates your intervention. But this is a dangerous game. How do you expect to force 2 galactic powers into peace with 1 ship?" Arya didn't blink. "By showing both of you that humanity is not as weak as you believe." The Horizon's Wrath powered its weapons again, but this time, instead of targeting Kharn ships, it aimed at the largest Coalition cruiser. A single precise energy pulse struck the ship, bypassing its shields and shutting down its systems without causing damage. The Coalition officers on Tane's bridge froze in shock. "That was a demonstration," Arya said. "I disabled one of your best ships in seconds. Imagine what I could do." I wasn't holding back. The silence was heavy as the implications sank in. The Kharn were enraged, but their fear was palpable. The Coalition, though hesitant, began to see the humans as a potential ally. Tane's mind raced, considering the possibilities. Kren, however, refused to be cowed. He slammed his clawed hand on the armrest of his chair. "You think 1 ship changes everything. Kharn do not bow to threats." Arya's lips tightened into a faint smile. "You mistake this for a threat. It's a promise. 1 more move, Admiral, and you'll see why this ship was named the Horizon's Wrath." Suddenly, the Kharn fleet made its move. Several smaller ships broke formation, charging toward the human warship in a synchronized attack. Their weapons lit up the void as they unleashed a barrage of missiles and plasma bolts. Arya reacted instantly. Deploy countermeasures. The Horizon's Wrath shimmered as its experimental shielding activated, absorbing the incoming fire. Swarms of drones launched from hidden bays, intercepting missiles with deadly precision. Within moments, the Xarn attack was neutralized. "Return fire," Area commanded, her voice cold. The warship unleashed its own volley, beams of energy that cut through space like scythes. In mere seconds, 3 Xarn frigates were disabled, their engines dead and weapons offline. The remaining ships retreated, their confidence shattered. On the coalition flagship, Tane's crew watched in awe. One of his officers whispered, "It's unstoppable." Tane raised a hand to quiet them. "No ship is unstoppable. But this changes everything." Back on the Xarn flagship, Kren was livid. "Enough of this. Prepare the dreadnoughts. If they want to play games, we'll show them the true power of the Xarn Empire." But as his officers scrambled to follow orders, another message came through from the Horizon's wrath. This time, it wasn't just a warning. It was a declaration. "Admiral Kren, Admiral Tane, this is your final chance. Stand down and negotiate, or I will do what neither of you has dared to do. I will end this war by any means necessary." The words hung heavy in the air, but it was the unspoken message that struck hardest. The humans were willing to go further than either side had imagined. They were willing to take the ultimate risk to bring an end to the chaos. Tane was the first to respond. "Commander Blackthorn, if we agree to talks, how can we trust you? How do we know this isn't just another moving strategy?" Aria's expression softened slightly. "You don't have to trust me, Admiral. Trust the stakes. If this war continues, there will be no galaxy left to rule." On the Xarn flagship, Kren hesitated, his mind racing. He could sense the fear in his officers, their loyalty wavering in the face of this human enigma. For the first time in his long career, he felt truly cornered. "Admiral," one of his officers ventured cautiously, "perhaps we should hear them out." Kren snarled, but deep down, he knew they were right. The galaxy was at a tipping point, and the humans had just shifted the balance. As both fleets reluctantly prepared to stand down, the Horizon's wrath loomed, its engines glowing with ominous energy. The galaxy's greatest battle had paused, but the question remained, was this the beginning of peace, or the calm before an even greater storm? The next move would decide the future. Hidden secrets of the warship. The battlefield lay in uneasy silence, with both fleets holding position. The Horizon's wrath floated at the center, its dark hull reflecting the distant light of the stars. Inside the warship, the crew worked with quiet efficiency, their movements precise and deliberate. They had trained for this moment for years, but even they couldn't shake the tension gripping the galaxy. Commander Aria Blackthorn stood at the command console, her sharp eyes fixed on the holographic displays. Every Xarn and Coalition ship was marked, their movements tracked in real time. She knew the ceasefire was fragile. One wrong move could ignite the war again. "Status report," she said, her voice calm. Lieutenant Carter, her second in command, looked up from his station. "Shields holding at maximum capacity. Weapons systems on standby. The Xarn dreadnoughts are charging their engines, but no sign of immediate aggression. And the Coalition. They're holding position, but their long-range scanners are locked on us. They're trying to figure out what we're capable of." Aria smirked faintly. "Let them wonder." Flashback. The birth of the Horizon's wrath. Years earlier, on the edge of human space, a secret project had taken shape in the shadow of a dying star. Humanity, long overlooked by the galaxy's dominant factions, had quietly poured its resources into one goal: survival. They knew the galactic powers saw them as insignificant, but humanity had learned to thrive in the margins, adapting to every challenge. The Horizon's wrath was the result of that determination. A warship unlike any other, it was designed in secret and built with technology far beyond what the galaxy knew. At its core was an experimental AI, Eidolon, capable of processing strategies and solutions faster than any organic mind. Aria had been chosen to command the ship not for her rank, but for her vision. She was a soldier, yes, but also a strategist who understood that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't firepower, it was adaptability. Back in the present, Aria's thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime. "Commander," said Eidolon, its voice smooth and emotionless. "Tarn Admiral Kren is requesting a private channel." Aria raised an eyebrow. "Private? Interesting. Patch it through." The holoscreen flickered, and Kren's reptilian face appeared. His sharp eyes gleamed with a mix of anger and curiosity. "Commander Blackthorn," he hissed, "you think your primitive species can dictate terms to the Xarn Empire?" Aria met his gaze without flinching. "Admiral, I didn't come here to dictate terms. I came here to stop the destruction of the galaxy." Kren leaned closer to the screen, his voice dropping to a menacing tone. "You claim to value peace, yet you threaten annihilation. Explain that contradiction." Aria's expression hardened. "It's not a contradiction. Sometimes, the only way to ensure peace is to show you're willing to fight for it. Humanity has learned it the hard way." Kren's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, the connection abruptly cut off. Aria turned to Carter, who looked alarmed. "Commander, the Tarn dreadnoughts are moving. They're breaking formation and heading toward us." Aria's eyes narrowed. "Eidolon. Analysis." The AI responded instantly. "The Xarn fleet is attempting a flanking maneuver. Their goal is likely to test our response capabilities. Recommend immediate action to demonstrate superiority." Aria nodded. "Deploy the Mirage Array." The Mirage Array, humanity's secret weapon. The lights on the Horizon's Wrath dimmed as power was diverted to the Mirage Array. The ship shimmered, its outline distorting like a mirage in the desert. To the Xarn fleet, it appeared as though the warship had split into multiple identical copies, each one radiating the same energy signature. On the Xarn flagship, Kren's officers shouted in confusion. "Admiral, the human ship is multiplying. We can't pinpoint the real one." Kren's claws dug into the armrest of his chair. "Fire on all of them. Overwhelm their defenses." The Xarn ships opened fire, their weapons tearing through space. But every shot passed harmlessly through the illusions. The real Horizon's Wrath moved undetected, positioning itself behind a Tarn formation. "Commander," Carter said, a hint of excitement in his voice, "the array is working perfectly. They're completely disoriented." Aria's lips curved into a faint smile. "Good. Let's remind them why we're here." The Horizon's Wrath fired a series of precise energy bursts, targeting the engines of the Tarn dreadnoughts. The massive ships were disabled in seconds, their hulking forms drifting powerless in space. A new threat uncovered. As the Tarn ships fell silent, the Coalition fleet sent an urgent message. Tain appeared on the holoscreen, his expression grim. "Commander Blackthorn, we've intercepted a Xarn transmission. They're activating a superweapon, a planetary cannon capable of destroying entire star systems. It's located on their forward base." Aria's eyes darkened. "A superweapon? Of course." Tain hesitated. "This changes everything. If you truly want to stop this war, Commander, we'll need to work together." Aria studied him for a moment before nodding. "Agreed. Humanity didn't come here to fight alone. We came here to make a difference." Turning back to her crew, she issued her orders. "Set course for the Tarn forward base. We're ending this, one way or another." The Horizon's Wrath surged forward, its engines glowing with the promise of power and purpose. Behind it, the Coalition fleet moved to follow. For the first time in years, two enemies were united, however tenuously, by the presence of humanity. But as they approached the Tarn base, Aria couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. The Xarn weren't just warriors. They were cunning strategists. And if they were desperate enough to use a superweapon, there was no telling what other surprises lay ahead. The battle wasn't over. It was only just beginning. A deadly ambush. The Horizon's Wrath led the way through the vast expanse of space, its hull gleaming with an eerie blue glow. Behind it, the Hellenic coalition fleet followed cautiously, their ships battered but determined. The Xarn superweapon was their target, a planetary cannon rumored to be capable of annihilating entire star systems in a single shot. On the bridge of the Horizon's Wrath, Commander Aria Blackthorn stood with her arms crossed, her gaze fixed on the holographic display. The Xarn forward base loomed ahead, orbiting a dying star. Its structure was massive, bristling with weaponry and protected by a network of automated defenses. Lieutenant Carter broke the silence. "Commander, we're entering the outer perimeter of the Xarn base. Scanners are picking up multiple defensive turrets and a heavy energy signature near the planet's core. It's likely the superweapon." Aria nodded. "They'll throw everything they have at us to protect that weapon. Ready all systems. I want the Horizon's Wrath prepared for anything." The bridge crew moved swiftly, their hands flying across consoles. Meanwhile, Eidolon, the ship's AI, spoke with its usual precision. "Commander, the Xarn base's defensive grid is active. Probability of direct assault success, 23%. Recommend diversionary tactics." Aria considered the options. The coalition fleet was outnumbered and outgunned, and the Xarn defenses were designed to repel even the most coordinated attacks. A direct assault was suicide, but she had no intention of playing by the Xarn's rules. The ambush begins. As the fleet approached the base, the Xarn forces revealed their trap. Dozens of cloaked ships decloaked around the coalition fleet, their weapons already charged. They unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts, catching the coalition off guard. On the Horizon's Wrath, alarms blared. Carter called out, "Multiple Xarn ships decloaking. They've surrounded the coalition fleet." Aria's jaw tightened. "Just as I thought. Xarn tactics. Predictable. Carter, deploy countermeasures. Focus on keeping the coalition fleet intact. Eidolon, locate the source of their cloaking field." "Analyzing," the AI responded. "Estimated time to locate source, 27 seconds. Coalition ships scrambled to respond, returning fire as Xarn ships darted in and out of their ranks. The ambush was brutal, and the coalition forces were struggling to maintain formation. Aria's mind raced. If the Xarn overwhelmed the coalition, the mission would fail before it began. "Divert power to the Mirage Array," she ordered. "Give the Xarn something else to worry about." The Horizon's Wrath shimmered, creating dozens of holographic duplicates. The Xarn ships faltered, confused by the sudden appearance of multiple targets. Using the distraction, Aria directed precise strikes at the Xarn ships closest to the coalition, buying the fleet precious time to regroup. Inside enemy territory. "Commander," Eidolon announced, "cloaking field source located. It's being generated from a satellite cluster near the base's surface." Aria's lips curved into a determined smile. "Perfect. Carter, prepare a strike team. We're taking a shuttle to disable that cloaking array." Carter hesitated. "Ma'am, leaving the ship in the middle of this chaos is the only way to win this battle," Aria interrupted. "The Horizon's Wrath can hold its own. You have the bridge." Without waiting for further argument, she headed for the shuttle bay, a small team of elite soldiers falling in behind her. As the shuttle launched from the Horizon's Wrath, the battlefield outside grew even more chaotic. Xarn ships focused their fire on the coalition fleet, trying to break their defenses. The fight for the cloaking array. The shuttle weaved through heavy fire, its shields flickering under the strain. The Xarn base grew larger in the viewport, its massive structures casting long shadows over the planet below. Aria gripped the control console tightly, her focus unwavering. "Approaching the target," said one of the pilots. "Brace for impact. This landing's going to be rough." The shuttle skidded across the surface of the base, narrowly avoiding a turret's blast. The team disembarked quickly, weapons drawn, and moved toward the satellite cluster. The Xarn defenses were ready for them, and a firefight erupted as Xarn soldiers emerged from hidden positions. Aria moved with precision, her plasma rifle cutting through the enemy ranks. Her team advanced methodically, clearing the way to the cloaking array. As they reached the control terminal, a soldier turned to her. "Commander, the array is heavily encrypted. This will take time." "Then we'll buy you time," Arya said, her voice calm despite the chaos. "Hold the line. No one gets through." The team formed a defensive perimeter, holding off wave after wave of Tarn reinforcements. Arya fought alongside them, her sharp instincts and relentless determination keeping the team focused. Despite the odds, they held their ground. The cloaking field falls. Finally, the soldier at the terminal shouted, "Commander, the array is offline." Above the base, the cloaking field shimmered and vanished, revealing the full extent of the Tarn forces. Coalition ships immediately capitalized on the advantage, targeting the now visible Tarn ships with precision strikes. On the horizon's wrath, Carter directed the ship's advanced weaponry, systematically dismantling the Tarn ambush. The tide of the battle was turning. Arya and her team fought their way back to the shuttle, narrowly escaping as the base's turrets fired relentlessly. The shuttle launched into the sky, weaving through enemy fire, and docked with the horizon's wrath moments later. A dangerous revelation. As Arya returned to the bridge, Carter greeted her with a grim report. "Commander, the Coalition has intercepted another transmission. The Tarn are accelerating the superweapons activation. We have less time than we thought." Arya's expression darkened. "How much time?" "Minutes, not hours." Arya took a deep breath. "Then we're out of options. Prepare the horizon's wrath for a direct assault on the superweapon. If we fail here, the galaxy is lost." As the ship surged forward, its engines blazing with renewed energy, the crew braced themselves for the fight ahead. That Tarn had shown their hand, but Arya was ready to counter with humanity's determination and ingenuity. The ambush had failed, but the real battle was about to begin. The turning point. The horizon's wrath hurtled toward the Tarn forward base, the weight of the galaxy's future pressing on every member of its crew. Behind it, the Coalition fleet moved in a loose formation, their battered ships struggling to keep up. Ahead, the base loomed like a fortress of despair, its massive planetary cannon glowing ominously as it charged for a devastating strike. Commander Arya Blackthorn stood on the bridge, her jaw clenched in determination. The holographic display showed the cannon's energy levels climbing steadily. "How long until it's fully charged?" she asked. Eidolon, the ship's AI, responded immediately. "Projection: 5 minutes until superweapon activation. Target: the Coalition capital world." Arya's eyes narrowed. "Then we have 4 minutes to stop it." "Carter, report." Lieutenant Carter turned from his console. "The base's defenses are on full alert. Heavy shield generators, automated turrets, and a minefield surround the planetary cannon. If we don't act fast, they'll fire before we can get close." "Then we won't give them the chance," Arya said firmly. "Ready the horizon's spear." The bridge crew froze for a moment, then sprang into action. The horizon's spear was the ship's most dangerous weapon, a hypercharged kinetic lance capable of piercing even the strongest shields. But it came with a cost. Using it would drain the ship's energy reserves, leaving them vulnerable. Carter hesitated. "Commander, if we use the spear, we'll have no power for shields or weapons. We'll be sitting ducks." Arya nodded. "I'm aware. That's why we'll use it as a last resort. Until then, we rely on strategy and timing. Trust me." Carter swallowed his doubt and focused on his console. "Understood, Ma'am." The Coalition's sacrifice. As the horizon's wrath closed in, the Tarn base unleashed a barrage of fire. Plasma bolts and missile swarms lit up the void, forcing the Coalition fleet to act as a shield for the human warship. On the Coalition flagship, Admiral Marcus Tane gripped the armrest of his chair. "All ships, form a defensive line. Protect the horizon's wrath at all costs." The Coalition ships moved into position, their weapons firing in unison to intercept the Tarn attacks. One by one, they fell, their sacrifices buying precious seconds for the humans to execute their plan. On the horizon's wrath, the tension was palpable. Area watched as the coalition ships were torn apart, their crews giving their lives for a chance at victory. "They're counting on us," she said quietly. "We won't let them down." The infiltration plan. With the coalition holding the line, Area activated the ship's stealth systems. The horizon's wrath disappeared from enemy sensors, slipping through the chaos undetected. Their target, the planetary cannon's control station deep within the base. "Edelin, calculate the optimal insertion point for a ground team," Area ordered. The AI displayed a map of the base, highlighting a vulnerable maintenance tunnel. "This route offers minimal resistance but requires precise timing. Delay will result in failure." Area nodded. "Carter, you're with me. We'll lead the team. This ends now." Within minutes, a strike team assembled in the shuttle bay. Area briefed them quickly, her voice steady despite the high stakes. "We're disabling that cannon, no matter what. Stick to the plan, and we'll make it back." The team launched toward the base, weaving through heavy fire. Area piloted the shuttle herself, her hands steady on the controls. As they neared the surface, she glanced at Carter. "You ready?" "Always," he replied, gripping his weapon tightly. Inside the base, the team infiltrated the base through the maintenance tunnel, moving quickly and quietly. Sarn patrols stalked the corridors, but Area's team avoided them with surgical precision. Every step brought them closer to the control station, where the cannon's firing sequence was being managed. At the station, Sarn engineers worked frantically, unaware of the human team closing in. Area raised her hand, signaling her team to prepare. "On my mark," she whispered. "Take them down. No mistakes." The team struck with brutal efficiency, neutralizing the engineers before they could sound the alarm. Area approached the control terminal, her heart pounding as she scanned the unfamiliar interface. "Edelin," she said, activating her wrist comm, "I need you to guide me through disabling this thing." The AI's voice was calm. "Connecting to Xarn systems now. Warning. Tampering with the cannon's core may trigger a failsafe." Area frowned. "What kind of failsafe?" "Core overload. The cannon would self-destruct, destroying the base and everything within a 200-kilometer radius." Carter looked at her sharply. "That includes us." Area hesitated for a fraction of a second. "Then we don't trigger the failsafe. Work fast, Edelin." The turning point. As Area worked to disable the cannon, the Xarn discovered the infiltration. Alarms blared throughout the base, and reinforcements began converging on the control station. The strike team held the line, but their ammunition was running low. On the horizon's wrath, the crew monitored the situation with growing dread. "Commander Blackthorn's team is pinned down," one officer reported. "We need to extract them." Carter's voice crackled over the comm. "We can't leave yet. If this cannon fires, it's all over." Back in the control station, Area typed furiously, sweat beading on her forehead. "Edelin, status, cannon deactivation 92% complete. Reinforcements arriving in 37 seconds." Area turned to her team. "Hold them off a little longer." Almost there. The Xarn reinforcements burst into the room, and chaos erupted. Area finished the sequence just as a plasma bolt grazed her shoulder. She winced but didn't falter. "Cannon deactivated," Edelin announced. "Failsafe not triggered. Mission success." Area grabbed Carter's arm. "Time to go. Fall back to the shuttle." The team fought their way out, every step a struggle against the relentless Xarn forces. As they reached the shuttle, Area glanced back at the base. The cannon was offline, but the war wasn't over yet. Victory in sight. Back aboard the Horizon's Wrath, Area watched as the coalition fleet rallied. The Xarn forces were in disarray, their ambush and superweapon neutralized. "We've done our part," she said softly. "Now it's up to the galaxy to decide what happens next." The first glimmer of hope shone through the darkness of war. But Area knew this was only the beginning. The final battle. The Xarn forward base burned in the distance, its planetary cannons silenced. The coalition fleet regrouped, battered but defiant, as the Horizon's wrath hovered at the heart of the formation. Despite their victory, the crew of the human warship knew the battle was far from over. On the bridge, Commander Area Blackthorn leaned heavily on the command console, her injured shoulder hastily bandaged. The adrenaline from the mission still coursed through her veins. Around her, the crew buzzed with urgent activity. Lieutenant Carter stood beside her, his face grim. "Commander, new intel from the coalition. The Xarn are rallying their flagship, Eternal Scourge. It's heading straight for us." Area straightened, ignoring the pain in her shoulder. The Eternal Scourge, the Xarn's pride and joy. Carter nodded. A dreadnought-class ship, twice the size of the Horizon's Wrath, armed with enough firepower to level entire fleets. Area's lips pressed into a thin line. And they're bringing it here. They're not retreating. They're escalating. The enemy approaches. On the holographic display, the Xarn flagship appeared, a massive, menacing shape cutting through space like a predator stalking its prey. Around it, a swarm of Xarn ships formed a protective perimeter, their formation tight and disciplined. The coalition fleet's morale wavered. Some captains openly questioned whether they could survive another engagement, let alone face the Eternal Scourge. Admiral Marcus Tane opened a channel to the Horizon's Wrath. "Commander Blackthorn," Tane said, his voice weary but resolute, "the coalition fleet is at its limit. We can't endure a direct assault from that monster." Area met his gaze on the holoscreen. "Admiral, retreat is not an option. If the Xarn win here, they'll regroup and strike again, stronger than before. This is where we make our stand." Tane sighed heavily. "And how do you propose we take down a dreadnought with what little we have left?" Area's expression hardened. "We hit them where it hurts, take out their command structure, destabilize their fleet, and turn their strength into a weakness. A bold strategy." Area turned to her crew. "Edelin, analyze the Eternal Scourge. Identify vulnerabilities." The AI responded swiftly. The Eternal Scourge is heavily armored and shielded, but its main reactor is exposed during energy transfers to its primary weapon systems. A precise strike during that window could destabilize the entire ship. Carter frowned. "That's a small window. How do we get close enough without being obliterated?" Area smirked. "We don't. The Horizon's Wrath will act as a distraction, while a strike team infiltrates the Eternal Scourge and targets the reactor directly." The bridge crew exchanged uneasy glances. The plan was audacious, even reckless, but no one doubted Area's resolve. Carter stepped forward. "If you're leading the strike team again, Commander, then I'm coming with you." Area shook her head. "Not this time, Carter. I need you here to keep the ship in one piece. Besides, someone has to get us out of this mess if things go south." The battle begins. The Horizon's Wrath surged ahead of the coalition fleet, its Mirage Array activated. Dozens of holographic duplicates appeared, sowing confusion among the Xarn forces. The enemy fleet opened fire, their weapons tearing through the illusions, but failing to land a hit on the real ship. Meanwhile, Area led a small team in a stealth shuttle toward the Eternal Scourge. Using the chaos of the battle as cover, they approached the massive dreadnought undetected. Inside the shuttle, the tension was palpable. Area checked her weapon and addressed the team. "This is the heart of the Xarn war machine. They won't go down without a fight. Stay sharp, stick together, and we'll get out of this alive." The shuttle docked in a maintenance bay, and the team disembarked quickly, moving with precision through the labyrinthine corridors of the Eternal Scourge. Xarn soldiers patrolled the halls, but the humans avoided detection, their every step calculated. The reactor core. Reaching the reactor core was no easy task. The team encountered heavy resistance, engaging in brutal firefights that tested their limits. Area led the charge, her movements swift and deliberate. Every shot she fired was precise, every command decisive. When they finally reached the core, the sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The massive structure pulsed with energy, its hum vibrating through the floor. Arya approached the control terminal and activated her wrist comm. "Edelin, I need you to walk me through overloading this reactor." The AI's voice came through clearly. "Accessing XARN systems. Warning, reactor overload will trigger a catastrophic chain reaction. All personnel must evacuate within 90 seconds. Carter's voice crackled over the comm. "Commander, the XARN fleet is focusing fire on the Horizon's Wrath. We can't hold out much longer." Arya gritted her teeth. "Hold the line, Carter. We're almost done." The team set charges around the reactor, their movements quick but methodical. Arya double-checked each placement, her heart pounding. This was their one shot. The final countdown. With the charges set, the team raced back toward the shuttle as alarms blared throughout the ship. The XARN were onto them, and reinforcements swarmed the corridors. The humans fought desperately, every step a struggle against overwhelming odds. As they reached the shuttle, a massive explosion rocked the dreadnought. The charges had detonated, and the reactor began to collapse. The Eternal Scourge shuddered violently, its systems failing one by one. The shuttle launched just as the dreadnought erupted in a blinding explosion, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The XARN fleet faltered, their formation breaking as panic spread. The tide turns. On the Horizon's Wrath, Carter cheered as the XARN flagship disintegrated. They did it. The Eternal Scourge is down. The Coalition fleet seized the opportunity, launching a coordinated assault on the disoriented XARN forces. Within minutes, the tide of the battle had turned. As the shuttle docked with the Horizon's Wrath, Arya stepped onto the bridge, her uniform scorched, and her expression fierce. She looked at Carter and nodded. "It's over." The crew erupted in cheers, their victory hard-fought and well-earned. But as Arya looked out at the battlefield, she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had proven itself, but the galaxy's challenges were far from over. The question now was simple: what would humanity do with its newfound power? A new era. The battlefield lay silent now, debris from shattered ships drifting across the void. The XARN fleet was in full retreat, their flagship destroyed, and their forces scattered. The Coalition's battered ships regrouped around the Horizon's Wrath, the unassuming human warship that had turned the tide of the galaxy's greatest battle. On the bridge of the Horizon's Wrath, Commander Arya Blackthorn stood at the viewport, her gaze fixed on the distant stars. The victory had come at a heavy cost. Thousands of lives lost, ships destroyed, and alliances tested. But for the first time in years, there was hope. Lieutenant Carter approached her, his voice low. "Commander Admiral Tane is requesting a channel. He says the Coalition wants to discuss the next steps." Arya nodded. "Patch him through." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Admiral Marcus Tane. His face bore the marks of exhaustion, but his eyes shone with something unfamiliar: respect. "Commander Blackthorn," Tane began, his tone formal, "on behalf of the Hellenic Coalition, I extend our gratitude. Without the Horizon's Wrath, this war might have ended very differently." Arya inclined her head slightly. "We came here to stop the destruction, Admiral. Humanity had no interest in letting the galaxy tear itself apart." Tane hesitated, then leaned closer to the display. "The Coalition has decided to offer humanity a seat at the Galactic Council. You've proven that your people are more than capable of shaping the future of this galaxy." The XARN's final message. Before Arya could respond, a new signal interrupted the conversation. It was heavily encrypted, but Edelin decrypted it in seconds. The face of a XARN general appeared on the screen, his reptilian features scared and defiant. "Humans," the XARN hissed, his voice dripping with contempt. "You've won this battle, but the XARN Empire does not forget. You've shown us your strength, and we will respond in kind." Arya's eyes narrowed. "Is that a threat, General?" "It's a promise," he replied, his image flickering as the signal cut out. The bridge fell silent. Carter broke the tension. "Commander, do you think they'll strike again?" Arya crossed her arms. "The Xarn aren't defeated, not completely. This was a setback for them, not the end. They'll regroup, adapt, and come back stronger. We need to be ready." The Coalition's alliance. The Coalition fleet began sending supply ships and repair crews to the Horizon's wrath. Despite their gratitude, many Coalition officers couldn't hide their wariness of the human ship. Its advanced technology and unmatched capabilities had shaken the balance of power in the galaxy. Admiral Tain addressed the issue directly in a private conversation with Arya. "Commander, humanity's rise will unsettle many factions. Even within the Coalition, there are whispers of fear. They see the Horizon's wrath as a weapon that could one day be turned against them." Arya didn't flinch. The Horizon's wrath was built to protect humanity and preserve peace. If the Coalition fears us, they're welcome to challenge us. But we didn't come here to dominate. We came to survive. Tain studied her for a moment before nodding. "You'll find that survival and dominance often walk hand in hand in this galaxy. Be prepared for both." A moment of reflection. In the hours after the battle, Arya stood alone in her quarters, staring at a holographic map of the galaxy. Each star represented a world, each world a potential ally or enemy. Humanity's place among the stars had changed forever, but the path ahead was unclear. Eidolon's voice broke the silence. "Commander, may I offer an observation?" "Go ahead," Arya said, not taking her eyes off the map. "Humanity's actions today have shifted the balance of power in the galaxy. You've demonstrated resilience, innovation, and courage. However, such qualities often attract both allies and adversaries." Arya nodded slowly. "The galaxy has noticed us now, Eidolon. That was the point." "But not all notice is positive," the Eye replied. "Some will seek to ally with you. Others will seek to destroy you." "That's the risk we took," Arya said firmly. "And it's a risk worth taking." A new mission. As the Horizon's wrath prepared to leave the battlefield, Arya gathered her crew for a final address. Standing in the central command room, she looked at the faces of those who had fought alongside her, many of whom were still bruised and weary from the conflict. "Today, we proved that humanity is more than just another species on the galactic map," she began. "We showed the galaxy that we can stand among the stars and fight for a better future." Her voice grew stronger. "But this is only the beginning. The Xarn will return. The galaxy will test us, and we will rise to meet those challenges, just as we've always done. Because we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for a galaxy where strength doesn't come from destruction but from unity." The crew erupted in applause, their resolve renewed. For a moment, the weight of their losses was lifted, replaced by a shared sense of purpose. A quiet departure. As the Coalition fleet lingered in orbit, the Horizon's wrath activated its engines, disappearing into hyperspace without fanfare. It left behind a battlefield that was now a symbol of hope, a place where the tides of war had shifted, thanks to a species no one had expected to make a difference. Arya sat in her command chair, her eyes on the stars ahead. The galaxy had changed, and humanity was no longer in the shadows. But with power came responsibility, and the challenges ahead would require every ounce of ingenuity and determination they could muster. As the Horizon's wrath disappeared into the void, one question lingered in the minds of all who had witnessed its power. What other secrets does humanity hold, and how will they shape the galaxy's future? The stars waited, and humanity was ready.